Hi, John Paul.
Hi.
So, how long has your venue been running for?
Well, long before I got here anyway, but it was a venue in the past. It was called Saints and Sinners, which is before my time, but it was like a pub, like club almost. I don't think it had live, and maybe it had live music on occasion, but it was more of a kind of like place where people came after work on a Friday and just got steaming and went upstairs and danced about to probably a DJ or whatever. And then in 1990, DF Concerts was kind of born, and then they decided that they wanted to have their own venue to promote bands from the ground up. So they bought this place and called it King Tuts Hut, which is named after a venue that used to exist in Brooklyn in New York in the early 1980s. It was like a punk kind of hardcore venue called King Tuts Hut. I'm not entirely sure why that was called King Tuts Hut, but it existed for a few years, and quite a lot of bands, up and coming, like Black Flag played there, and it was a cool scene. I actually, one of the first times I went to New York, I went to Brooklyn and found, because it's now called Niagara. There's a singer called Jesse Malin who owns Niagara, and Niagara is the original Tuts. So when you walk into Niagara, actually the bar is quite similar. Like you walk in, bar's on the right hand side. There's not an upstairs, there's just a room through the back, and that's where the live music happened, or happened, because it doesn't happen anymore. And then DF just started putting gigs on in here, and just basically through obviously intelligent booking and people knowing what was happening at the right time, they were booking bands as they were starting to get big. So like, if you look at the Stairs, like 1990, 1991, 92, 93 is all like the Charlatans and Pulp and all those bands that were like just starting to, as Britpop was just going like that, all these bands were obviously touring, and so this became the sort of place to play. And then obviously the Oasis thing, that everyone, the Oasis story, right? Do you know it? Yeah. So obviously they played here, and then got signed on the back of it. But I mean, there was loads of other bands playing here. It wasn't just Oasis. Like Radiohead played here, and who else? I can't even remember off the top of my head, but they're all on the Stairs anyway. But like, you know what I mean? Like that 90s period really cemented this place. I didn't come here to my first show until 99. I came to see a Doors tribute band. It was brilliant. It was sold out. It was really, really good. Called the LA Doors. And then I came here many, many times after that. Didn't think I would end up working here, but here I am.
Does your venue focus on a specific genre of music?
No, absolutely not. There's no. I mean, obviously, because of its history and its lineage in terms of Oasis and all that, you do get quite a lot of. If it's a local band bill, there's obviously guys going up there that think they're Liam Gallagher, wearing pretty green jackets and all the rest of it. There's a lot of that, but I mean, the bookings that we have out with local bands, I mean, we promote different types of local music as well. There's local hip hop shows, there's local singer-songwriters just on their own. Like Michael behind you, he supported us, the Twilight Sad, and he's just like a local guy, really, really talented guy. He's playing here next month. We just got behind him. He's supported a load of people here before, and then off the back of his support at the Barrowland with the Twilight Sad, the promoters upstairs were like, right, let's give him a headline show, and that's how he's got headline shows. So it's things like that. So it's not, and he's just solo. Plays with a couple of effects pedals. It's not. It's not standard sort of setup. Standard setup's just like a bass guitar, drums. But there's loads of different genres of music. I've repped all across the board here. There's even been Una Healy from the Saturdays played here last year, and there's like hardcore metal, like where there's people crowd surfing and all that up the stairs, like, and then you can go from that one night to a sort of laid back indie band the next night. So it's pretty good as a job anyway. It's like it's not like you're just doing the same thing every night. We've got like Drenge tonight. That's kind of like kind of punky, sort of grungy sort of stuff. That's nearly sold out. And then tomorrow night we've got a local guy and his band from Kilmarnock called Brown Bear and the Bandits. That's sold out as well. But it's like Brown Bear and the Bandits is completely different to what's on tonight. You know, he's just like a singer guy, front man with an acoustic guitar with a band behind him. You know, it's kind of very sort of it's totally different. So yeah.
So, do you think that King Tuts contributes well to the local music scene?
Absolutely, yeah. Without question. I mean, I think it's still seen as a massive thing to play here, just to play here at all, just to walk on the stage. To headline here is still seen as a huge sort of benchmark in a band's career, and like all bands worth their salt should be aiming to sell out Tuts as a kind of thing, you know, because like that's, if you come and sell out, even if, say you don't sell out Tuts, say you just are second on a bill but you sell 100 tickets or whatever, the promoters up the stairs take notice of that and they'll be like, right, well, one, they'll listen to the band more, two, they'll be like, right, if they're worth 100 tickets now, then they're potentially worth 1,000 tickets in a year's time or 2 years' time. So they, you know, they'll offer that band opportunities to, and this is this perfect place to sort of judge that, because they can, at the end of the night, we type up night reports about all the bands. So like that goes to everyone in the company. So they all get to see what the reps' thoughts are on that band. So if the reps writing, this band are fucking amazing, you know, blah blah blah, they've got like 2 or 3 songs, like everyone was singing along, they sold 100 tickets, Jeff Ellis will read that and be like, right, I remember that, and see if there's a band at a far bigger level looking for a tour support or looking for a support, he'll be like, what about that band that so and so said, or, you know, and they might get a support at a Barrowland, or maybe not as big as a Barrowland, but certainly somewhere like the Garage or something like that, you know, and that, so this place is the ideal kind of testing ground for bands. And like I said, if you sell out, if you get to a level where you're selling out Tuts, then it can only augur well for you in terms of your development beyond here, because like once you've sold out Tuts once, that's kind of, you tick that off and then you move on and you try and build it, and you should never really go back, because like you should be constantly just setting yourself like, all right, I've done that, let's move to there, and that's how bands have become successful. That's how Paolo Nutini went from playing here to Bellahouston Park. Biffy Clyro, the same. Lewis Capaldi will probably do the same. He played. I had him in here. He was like second on, and I was like, this guy's pretty good. And he's a really funny guy as well. And then you see him now. He's like sold out 2 nights in Edinburgh, 6,000 tickets a night, gone. 2 academies gone, Usher Hall gone in minutes. Like, it's amazing to see that happen. He started here. He ended up headlining here, and that was like his kind of benchmark moment. And then he moved from here, and I think he went from here to St Luke's. I think he did a St Luke's, and then he went from St Luke's to Barrowland, 2 Barrowlands, and now he's like, he's flying.
Yeah.
So yeah, in answer to your question, I think Tuts is extremely important to the local music scene. There's some people that are a bit kind of, that sort of like turn their nose up and see us as some sort of big corporate entity, but we're still, because of the people that book the shows, we're still in touch with everything that's going on in Glasgow, and there's so much proof from this year right back to 1990 of local bands becoming a success as a result of Tuts. So.
And has the business faced any great difficulties over the years?
The business as a whole, yeah, it's definitely faced difficulties with the changing landscape of the music industry and everything, you know, the festival culture, the way that festivals have changed, in that, I mean, if you look at what happened with Tea in the Park, it ended up becoming this kind of like slightly skewed sort of, I don't think nobody really knew what market was trying to go for, because like you still wanted to have the credibility with kind of cool bands, but then like a lot of the popular things that, you know, were coming through on Radio 1 and the DJs and everything else, that was taking the audience away. So it was like you ended up having like these two streams which caused a lot of problems in terms of like, how do you keep everybody happy? You can't. You either have a festival that is like the festival in England, or you have a festival that is like Glastonbury, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that was why Dean the Park suffered. So that was a challenge in the fact that, and obviously I had to move sites as well. Don't know if you know about that, but it happened like maybe 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
There was problems in Balado because of the pipeline that ran underneath, and it was deemed to be unsafe for large numbers of people to be on the site because it was like a gas pipe, and if anything happened, then there was potential hazard. So they had to move sites to Strathallan, and that brought with it all its problems whereby people weren't allowed to do certain things. For example, 6 weeks before the festival, they got the green light to actually start doing things to the site, and that's far too close to the date of the festival to be. I mean, it should have been 6 months beforehand that they were doing things. So it was just like all of a sudden it was like all hands on deck to try and get the place ready. So that was a huge challenge, and I just think that the way that the music industry's changed, in that people don't really buy records anymore, so that's affected the way that bands tour, and bands, by and large, it's expensive for bands to tour. So that obviously affects us because we're the ones putting on the shows. So we need to factor that into our thinking when we're booking shows. And I guess, like maybe 20 years ago, there would have been like a gig every single night in Tuts. Still almost a gig every night in Tuts, like in the busy months. But even in this sort of not busy months, like February, March, it would still have been like a gig every night. Whereas it's definitely, I can see that it's becoming less and less. Purely because bands can't afford to tour. I mean, bands a lot of the time are touring and making a loss, which people will be like, how could they possibly? They're playing in front of all these people, how could they not be making money? But it costs a lot to go out and tour. You've got the hire of the van, the paying the people to drive the van, paying the people to do the sound, paying people to do the lights, accommodation, meals every day. Like, if you're only getting like 200 quid as a fee for that gig, that doesn't, the maths don't work in that, so yeah. I can't remember what the question was. Has there been any challenges? Yeah.
What would you say the main vision for your business is?
I'd say just to continue doing what it's done in terms of providing successful shows throughout Scotland, and in as many different places in Scotland as well. I think it is quite Glasgow centric, obviously, because of the fact that Glasgow is like an absolute hub of live music in terms of the venues that it has and everything else. By the way, to go back to your previous question, that's a big challenge, is losing venues. And losing the ABC last year was a massive blow, because it was a venue that was 1,300 capacity, and it was the perfect size as a bridge between a garage or an Oran Moor or a St Luke's to then go to the Barrowland. Like, if you did a 1,300, it wasn't as risky, because like you could get away with maybe 900 to 1,000 in the ABC, but there's nowhere now of that size really that is. So losing venues, whether it's to fires, to simply being shut down by the owners or whatever, or noise complaints, all that kind of thing, that has an impact. Because last year when the ABC went on, well, it didn't go on fire, it basically, the art school fell into it. When that happened, DF had like 70 gigs booked in there for the rest of the year, so they had to all of a sudden go, shit, where are we going to put all these gigs? So a lot of them got moved down to smaller venues, which was fine, because then that would mean they were instantly sold out, but the band wouldn't get as much money. And then they also were moved up, but then they were moved up to the Academy, and the Academy's too big, so you were getting shows moved up to the Academy that meant that the Academy was only going to be half full. So it was a massive problem, and it still is a problem because there's not been somewhere to replace that. But in regards to the current question, what's the vision? I'd say the vision is just to build on the success that they've built up in the last nearly 30 years, and you know, continue to bring the most entertaining and exciting new bands and acts to Scotland, and as well as obviously promoting the ones that we've already established relationships with. But yeah, I mean, there's still a hunger up the stairs to work with the next best thing, you know, like folk like Billie Eilish, and you know, just folk that are like absolutely buzzing, that like you just know when they're playing a show at wherever it is, SWG3 or whatever, you just know that they're going to like go on to bigger things. I mean, Billie Eilish is 100% going to do something big, I think. Band behind you, Fontaine's DC, like they're playing here in a couple of weeks and it's sold out, and then they're playing SWG3 in November and that's heading for a sellout as well, so that's another band that you know are going to just started here, Irish band, started here, they've got another show later on in the year, and then next year, who knows, Barrowland or something like that, so and then I guess like obviously developing Transmit is still a new festival, only 3 years old, so they'll be, you know, looking to make that a kind of festival that like Glastonbury. When Glastonbury's announced, people just buy tickets and they don't even know who's playing. Like you wanted to get it to that level where people are like, I'll just get it. I know that, you know, I'll be into that, so I'll just get a ticket. So
I'm gonna change this question because you've obviously contributed a lot to some of the artists' careers that have performed here. So what I'm wondering is, do you think that sort of sets the bar higher, or like people have more expectations of King Tuts, the bands, the promoters, the audience?
Yeah, potentially. I think that maybe the bands could think that, oh, if we play King Tuts, that's it, we're done, we don't need to do anything else. But that's only the start. You can't just rest on your laurels. You know, there's a lot of hard work. And the Twilight Sad, the band I managed, played King Tuts 10 years ago, and it didn't instantly then mean that they were going to become big. There was a lot of struggles between after that point and everything else. It's like this place doesn't guarantee you success. It just can help. You know, it's up to the band to do the sort of hard work. But yeah, I think what was the exact structure of your question again, sorry?
So, because you've obviously contributed significantly to some of the artists'
Yeah.
careers that have played here, like, does that set the bar higher for both bands, promoters that maybe think...
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely, like, I don't think that the upstairs, the promoters would not want to let the standard slip. You know, there's definitely, there's a bar has been set for here, and I don't think any of them would want, you know, it to get to the case where they were booking bands that didn't do anything. Do you know what I mean? Like they've got to have a kind of a quality control, you know, so that it's not just like, oh, anybody can play King Tuts or anybody can get a gig at King Tuts. You know, if you're headlining here, you should be worth headlining here, and you should have something about you. It shouldn't just be handed out on a plate. I think maybe other venues possibly would do that, but there's got to be some sort of level of prestige afforded to this place, given what, you know, one look at the stairs, you know.
Yeah.
It's massive, you know. Like, and sometimes you forget until people come in and start going, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here, you know, like that kind of thing. Like you just sort of take it for granted a little bit, and then it sort of comes back to you that you're like, this is actually a really special place.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that it's still here when so many other places have fallen by the wayside, you know.
And does your venue mostly focus on live music instead of alternatives such as DJs and club music?
The club thing, we're restricted because of the curfew. We have like neighbours, and we have to keep them happy, so we can't have any noise after 11:45. So we occasionally get a late licence for like 1 o'clock or whatever for something or other, like one-offs. I think we're allowed to apply for a few a year, but it's never been a club place. As much as a lot of us would like it to be, it would be amazing if we could do club nights in here. I think it would be really good fun, and I don't think it would actually affect anybody from the inside of the building. There's nobody above, to the left or to the right currently, although I know they are building a hotel next door, but currently there's no one. If we were to have a club night, it wouldn't affect. It's not like there would be folk banging in the ceiling or whatever. Like it would only really be the exterior. You know, people coming out the back or whatever, or out the front, because there's some flats about the place. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is all live music. There's occasionally, talks and things have happened here, like with sit down talks. Like they had on International Women's Day a couple of weeks ago. They had like a panel, on stage, and there was like chairs laid out. So that occasionally happens, but more often than not, it's gigs, and more gigs.
Yeah.
But no, they do have DJ like gigs.
Yeah.
So like but just not like club nights.
Yeah.
But like DJs play here with, like bells and whistles, like lights and smoke and all that. But we've had, I'm trying to remember the names of some of the ones that we've had. Like Disclosure played here and Clean Bandit and stuff like that. So like things like that happen.
Yeah.
But just not till 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So.
What type of audience does your venue typically attract? Like, is there a specific demographic, or is it all different?
Oh my god, no. It's absolutely insane. In fact, I was just talking about this in a meeting up the stairs. There was a girl played here on Friday called Alice Merton. Probably not heard of her. I hadn't heard of her. She's Canadian. She's lived all over the place. She's only like 25 or something like that. She's like had fairly successful singles in France, Germany, and all that. She's lived in like Berlin, Canada, America, lived all over the place. Her accent is mental. Like you would not be able to place her accent. And she played there on Friday night, sold it out, and basically sold it out pretty much based on online stuff. That's a thing now, like where people just can sell out a venue based on their online activity. Like she's not had any UK music success in terms of like the charts or anything like that, as far as I know. But she's obviously just got an online audience through YouTube or whatever. So it's very poppy, like, and the crowd was mental. I could not, like, I normally stand and watch the crowd come in, just like the first 100, 150 people, just to get an idea of what the crowd are going to be like. And as the crowd were coming in, I'm like, old couple, young couple, like like misfit folk. It was just like completely all, like, you could not have said, it was just like 14 to 25, 20 to 25-year-old students or whatever. Normally you can sort of bracket off a crowd, but with them on Friday it was just like, I had no idea. Don't know where all these people have come from. But then the same thing is, depending on the type of gig, depends on the type of crowd. So like tonight, you probably get loads of wee guys that are into like guitar bands that might be their first gig, like it's a plus 14s gig. So Drenge are, I guess, targeted towards sort of younger, sort of studenty type guys. But that's the thing, you get people coming in here all the time and as they're going up the stairs, they're like, oh my god, I've never been here before, look at the stairs and all that, and you're just like, how have you not been to Tuts before? This is mental. And that, like, there's older folk as well that are like that as well. So it's just, there's constantly, there will be a variety of regular people that come to like a lot of the same type of shows here, but more often than not, you're getting people in that are new to it. Just like different bands attract different people. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think that concludes our questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
for taking the time.